Welcome in, folks. My name is Chris Blunt, and today I will be previewing the Ohio State versus Georgia Peach Bowl college football playoff matchup. Now, we're going to do things a little different today. I'm going to start you guys off with some player and coaches interviews from the Ohio State point of view because I am a Buckeye fan and die hard. And I'm going to just be honest, I'm not following I have not followed Georgia all year for me to do a very in-depth analysis, but I have followed Ohio State all year. So I wanted to come with you guys to start off the podcast with some coaches and player interviews from the offense and defense of Ohio State. So I will send y'all guys right into that so y'all can get a feeling of how the Buckeyes are trending going into this game. To start off our interviews, we are going to have offensive coordinator and newly appointed Tulsa head coach Kevin Wilson talk about the challenge of defending maybe the best defensive player in all of college football, Jalen Carter.
Well, I mean, one of the impressions are they have a lot of tremendous players. Always have. I think it just starts with their coaches, the way they recruit, and the emphasis of defense and the passion. A lot of times when you put on tape, you see great players. A lot of time when you put on tape, you see scheme and structure. But sometimes when you put on the great teams, you feel the tape, and you feel those guys on tape, and you feel them on tape. You feel the plays he makes and the way he can impact and influence games. We have our hands full, not just with him, everyone. It's not like you can turn full focus there because there's other dynamic guys at one-on-one. So it's going to be a fist fight every play. We got our hands full. Just a lot of respect for their structure, the culture of the way they play, and most importantly, you feel their defense. And we're going to have to do our best to make sure that there's a chance that as we're playing, they feel us as we play this game, because it's not going to be a reactionary game. It's going to be an attack game both ways, two guys going at each other. A lot of respect for those guys.
This next question is going to be for C.J. Stroud, Kevin Wilson, and Emeka Ibuka on being the underdogs against Georgia. Let's see how they feel.
I don't know if we've talked as much about that. It's just the opportunity in front of us, Dom, and responding and practicing and prepping. We just had a question about Marvin and Emeka and CJ. Those are hands down maybe two of the best practice players on our team. And when guys practice and prep, and so to me, I have a lot of respect for, it's a prideful group, a prideful program, no matter what the underdog or spreads or all that stuff is, I guess, Dom. But I think our guys just take a lot of pride in chasing greatness and the way we prepped and prepared. And I think our guys are looking forward to the opportunity and challenge that Saturday presents. And I just enjoy walking on the field with those guys and the way they go about their business to give ourselves a chance to have success. It's a great group to practice with.
All right, CJ, thoughts on being the underdog?
It's football, so you got to go play football. I don't really think I haven't really put no thought to it. Like at the end of the day, I feel like we still Ohio State, we still the Buckeyes. So Georgia's Georgia for a reason. So I definitely think that. Even talking to some of those dudes that I know on their team, it's been respect. I don't think that. I wouldn't say that I feel like an underdog. I don't feel like. I do feel like people are counting us out, but that's fine. I mean, we've been counted out plenty of times. I'm pretty sure people have counted Emeka out in his life, and people have counted Coach Wilson out in his life, and people have counted me out. This isn't nothing new. I definitely think this is the path that God wanted us on, and I'm just rocking with that. So if that means that we're the underdog, I'm cool with it. It's time to just mask up and go play football.
All right, I'm going to close out with Emeka.
You can look at the rankings and see that we're number 4, and look in the past and see what the past number 4 Ohio State team did. But at the end of the day, Georgia's a phenomenal team. They're 12-0. It's hard to go undefeated on a season, and they're the number 1 ranked team right now. But I can't speak for everyone, but for me personally, I don't feel like underdogs. There's never been a time where I stepped on the field and I felt a severe disadvantage to the player across from me. I haven't played Georgia yet, but I feel like with the confidence that we have as a team and our ability, like CJ said, we've been counted out before. So It's not nothing new to us, so we're just going to go out there on Saturday and play football like how we know how to play football.
The next question is going to be Paris Johnson talking about the challenge of taking on this ferocious Georgia defensive line.
They have a strong defensive line, and I believe that's probably one of the strongest units on the defense, of course. And I think it's like a matchup game up front. I think, of course, they have Stackhouse and Carter, and, they have 13, 33, and 90 on the outside that rotate a lot, along with 32. And I think that's a solid group, and they rotate a lot. And I would say their twos are almost as good as their ones. So I think it's a respectable matchup. Is definitely not. There's not anybody on their line that you overlook in terms of doing your preparations for.
All right, next.
Although this Georgia defense is really good, in the SEC championship, they did give up 500-plus passing yards to LSU. Granted, most of it was in garbage time, but still 500 yards is a lot. So reporter asked the players, how do they feel after watching that game, and do they feel like they can put up yards like LSU did?
I think that whole game, it was just a good game to overall analyze. Georgia's here for a reason. We're here for a reason too, but their defense is very stout, so we believe that we have to have our best game on offense, and I think we're on pace to do that with the practices we've been having. But overall, just from watching that game, LSU did some good things against them, so there's definitely a chance. Coach Day always preached, it's always a chance. Just no matter how hard you work, it's always going to be a chance we show up on game day.
All right, Paris.
I agree with Chip that watching the game, there were a lot of things like the blueprint that they use to gain yards, but also I feel like the main thing that I look at is to do exactly what some team, to do like the opposite of what the teams did, right? So there was a lot of clips I watched where there was a breakdown in the run game immediately that resulted in the negative runs, and maybe there was a lack of protection from one of the guards really early on. So I think looking at those, for me as a lineman, I like to look at the negatives as a lesson to learn before it happens. So I think those things that I saw from that game in particular were great lessons, not just for myself, but for the entire offensive line room, for this game.
All right, and Marvin?
I think at the end of the day, we just got to go out there and play our own ball. Obviously, LSU did what they did, and other teams like Missouri gave them a good battle. They'll play their game. So I think we just got to go out there and play our game. We have confidence in ourselves that we're going to make things work and go out there and compete. So I don't think we have to take too much from other teams. Obviously, we have to watch the film and see how other teams succeeded, but just worry about ourselves and know what we can do.
The underdog role was brought up once again by reporters, and these set of players had a different take on being an underdog than before. I'll let y'all listen in. Also, they asked about how the players feel about it being Ohio against the world.
This time, please.
I think we kind of always thought it was Ohio against the world, even before this game. So nothing really changes. I know me personally, I'm glad we could play them, in Atlanta, in their kind of home arena. Kind of always like being the villain and the underdog going into the game. So I'm definitely excited to be able to do that.
Paris?
Yeah, I agree with Marvin on that this is how you want to play Georgia here at their house pretty much. So, and yeah, since I've been here, it's pretty much been Ohio against the world. So I think this game even exemplifies that as well, with the circumstances, what you said.
All right. Chip, thoughts on being the underdog?
I think overall the team likes it a lot. At this point, we have nothing to lose, so we're just here for a reason. I think everybody counts us out, but at the same time, this is what you take on the Buckeye name for. So we're all here to put our best foot forward for him.
Now we're going to switch from the offensive side to the defensive side. Our next three set of players, we have linebacker Tommy Eichenberg, defensive end Jack Sawyer, and safety Lathan Ransom. They were asked on the challenge of defending a versatile offense like Georgia's. Here's their answers.
I'd say, overall just a great offense. They can do a lot with the ball. And I think it's hard to defend, but, it comes down to us. So.
Yeah, I just think they got a veteran quarterback, obviously, who's, a great player, and they got a really athletic offensive line too. So I think they like to play their offensive line strength with how athletic they are and big up front with a lot of stuff they do. And, having a veteran quarterback as good as Stetson Bennett, brings a lot of challenges as well.
Yeah, I agree. I think he does a great job of getting the ball into the playmaker's hands, does a great job of taking what the defense gives him. And I think they do a good job of motion, shifts. So at the end of the day, like Tommy said, it's up to us. Everyone just needs to be on the same page and they execute their job, and I think we'll be good.
Okay.
Earlier in the press conference, the Ohio State players were asked if they were tired of talking about Michigan, a.k.a. the team up north, and they all responded with a resounding one-word answer and yes. Later on, they were asked what Big Ten team reminds them of Georgia over any other team, and I think you'll find their answer pretty funny.
Okay.
I probably wouldn't say anyone really. You probably want me to say some team, but I'm not gonna. But
Oh, God.
yeah.
I'm not going to force you to. Tell me. All right. What about you, Jack?
I'd just say scheme-wise and the way they use their tight ends and whatnot, Penn State probably is what I'd say.
Yeah, I feel like y'all know the answer to that, but I'm finna just say Penn State too.
Tommy, last chance. Are you going to say Penn State?
Yeah, Penn State.
Okay, Penn State. Across the
Wisconsin.
board. It's unanimous.
Next question, a reporter talked about how adversity could bring a team closer together and wanted to know how the team was the last month dealing with such adversity.
It's definitely made this this team tighter. Just we were down for a little bit, and then we all came back together, right? We got stronger, and we have each other, and that's all we need. So.
Yeah, I just think you find out who's really there with you when things aren't going well, and when things didn't go our way, we still had each other, and it was big, just being able to lean on each other through that time, and we got a second chance at life, so to speak, with the playoffs, which I thought we deserved to be in anyway, but we just got that much tighter. And, the last month of practice have been really great, with the whole team, offense and defense. And so definitely thought the adversity, brought us a lot closer together through that past month.
Yeah, I agree. Like you said, I think the adversity brought us together. And then for the last month, we've been competing against our offense like it's camp. So we've been competing against the best offense in the country every day. So the defense is excited. And when you don't get looks like that very often, so it brings the team together, and I think by competing also brings us together even more.
All right, halfway back.
Finally, we have our last group of players and coaches. We have defensive coordinator Jim Knowles, linebacker Steele Chambers, and defensive end JT Tuimoloau. First asked defensive coordinator Jim Knowles, is he preparing any different with it being the playoffs and the magnitude of the moment?
Consistency is important. It's a critical thing to, the establishment of a defense that everyone can count on, where the players can be fast. And so it's a process that you do try to keep consistent no matter what the magnitude of the game. We've had more time, which is a good thing. So we're able to sprinkle in some some upgrades, some different things, work on the game plan longer. But in general, you want the players to feel comfortable with how you prepare, the way you go about your business, no matter what the situation, because when the critical moments come, they need to feel comfortable in their performance and preparation. And to me, you do that with repetition.
Georgia's offense features arguably the two best tight ends in all of college football. So with that being such a threat, how does Jim Knowles plan on approaching this threat?
I mean, I think you have to, because of the versatility, the fact that they can line up tight to the formation and wide, you have to prepare for those two tight end sets, and you're not going to get that all the time. But if you're not prepared for that, they can do damage from the line of scrimmage, and then you make the adjustments when they move out. But they're certainly dangerous wherever they line up.
Jim Knowles was asked a similar question, but was asked about the offense as a whole. Let's see how he feels.
Well, it's a huge challenge. One our guys have worked for all year. The versatility of the offense with the multiple tight ends who are extremely talented, receivers who can make plays in various ways throughout the field, running backs who can attack you both inside and outside, and a quarterback who just does a marvelous job of managing the whole thing. It's a complete offense. It's developed like an NFL offense, and they have a bunch of tools at their disposal. So, we need to be sound across the board and really play hard with great effort. It is still football, and that makes a big difference. The effort of the players really makes a big difference.
Heisman finalist quarterback Stetson Bennett has had a great season with his arms and his legs. JTT and Steel Chambers were asked, how do you contain a quarterback that can be so elusive and get out of the pocket?
Stetson Bennett is a great player, a great quarterback. I think we just have to, just do our job and trust in each other. He has shown times where he can be very elusive, and I think we just have to stick to the game plan and just trust one another and do our job.
Yeah, I think it just comes down to doing your job, just trusting the guy next to you that whatever his assignment is, he's going to get it done. And yes, that's Bennett. He's a great player. He's got this weird little dead leg thing he does that's annoying whenever he's out in open space. But, I mean, he's a great player, and I think he's going to take 11 guys to really stop him, stop that entire offense.
Our final question asks, after all this time being off, are the Buckeyes anxious to play a football game, and will the defense play with a certain edge? Also, Steel Chambers talks about a emotional speech that JTT gave right after the Michigan loss and before we knew that Ohio State would be in the playoffs when Utah lost to Oregon. So they will talk about that and JTT's speech.
Yeah, it's been a month since we've played, but I mean, you can tell even in practice, everyone's got a chip on their shoulder. And I mean, JT gave a rousing speech right before we got into playoffs, gave me goosebumps. But I mean, I think from then on, it's just like everyone's just been really serious as to what we plan on doing. And so the last month of practice, everyone's been going at it full tilt. And I think that you can really see this on Saturday.
All right. JT?
Yeah, I mean, they pretty much hit on everything. Just being motivated and just staying patient, patiently waiting for Saturday to come. But, yeah, in the meantime, just got to continue working. Yeah, it was just pretty much just at that time. I think it was very, it was a very uncertain time. No one knew if we were going to get in, but I think it was just more of just, everybody got to stay ready and hold each other accountable. All the morals we talk about within our team just has to be displayed at this moment. Telling them that, shared a speech where, or pretty much a testimony where, humans might plan the course, but God plans the steps. And, we just got to trust in his plan. And, there's a reason for all this happening. We just got to keep trusting in him and, and believing in him. And, we have blessing that we are here. And now we just got to keep going.
That concludes our player interview portion of the podcast. I hope that gave you guys a good feel on how the Buckeyes are doing, how, their morale going into the game, and everything in between. Now I'm going to do a quick breakdown of the game. Unfortunately, I do not have the time to give you guys the stats on the screen, but I will be laying out those for you. As we all know, Ohio State has one of the best offenses in the country, with 45 points per game. Georgia's no slouches themselves, coming in at 39.5 a game. So it's not too far off, although they have different contrasting styles of offense. Ohio State is much more reliant on their wide receivers for passing productivity. Georgia is much more reliant on their tight ends for the such productivity. Ohio State's averaging about 492.7 yards a game. Georgia's at 491. So these are two great teams going at each other. Ohio State's at 294 passing. Georgia is at 284. Rushing, Ohio State is at 198 yards a game, and Georgia's at 207. These defenses stack up. Georgia is known and considered by many to be the best defense, whether they are statistically or not. They give up about 292 yards per game. Ohio State's giving up 303. But our perception of these two teams' defenses are different simply because the last time we saw Georgia, they pretty much held LSU in check until the game was out of reach. And Ohio State gave up 45 points to Michigan and 5 explosive plays that combined for 350 yards and 5 touchdowns themselves. So the way we're viewing these defenses are different, even though the numbers are not that much vastly different. And I tend to agree with that. I believe that Georgia has I won't say much better defense. They are more talented and I believe more well coached. But Ohio State defense has shown flashes this year of greatness. But on the biggest stage of the year, they did not look that great. So I understand where all the criticism is coming from. I want to dive back into these offenses. Georgia's offense is led by the tight ends Brock Bauer and Darnell Washington. Leading wide receiver for Georgia, Ladd McConkey, may or may not be playing this game. According as of Wednesday, he did not practice. So most times you have to practice to play. So we didn't see him in practice. Since I'm going there, let's get into injuries a little bit. Mayan Williams was scheduled for a media availability. He has been known to have an illness, sources say. But he was back in practice on Thursday, which was a good sign. Georgia has Nolan Smith out, who is a big part of their defense. And as I mentioned, Ladd McConkey is out. Well, I'm not going to say out because that hasn't been confirmed, but it is looking like he will not play. Also, one of Georgia's offensive linemen was a bit hobbled, but is expected to play. Looking at these two teams throughout the year, for most of the year, they were known as the two best teams, ranked 1 and 2. Of course, Ohio State dropped to 4 after the loss to Michigan. But talent-wise, these are two of the 3 best talent teams, including Alabama, in the entire country. If you look at the 4 and 5-star comparisons to their counterparts in the playoffs, Michigan and TCU, they are vastly more talented than both of those teams. And a lot of people believe that this is the national championship game. I don't tend to agree with that when you got an undefeated Michigan on the other side who has proven that they belong on the big stage. But with all that going on, I do believe these are the two most talented teams left. How I see the game playing out, I expect Ohio State to come out early, throwing punches, as they did against Michigan. They scored on their opening drive, which was great. So, got to learn how to get that going. They did get bogged down in the red zone against Michigan, which wasn't great, as I'm ranting here. Next, I want to talk about some advantages and disadvantages for both teams. Obvious advantages for Georgia, physicality. They have proven throughout the year that they are a very physical team, and throughout the past couple years that they're very physical. They rotate 3 running backs, but they all are pretty productive, around 5 yards a carry. This offensive line was finished second for the Joe Moore Award, which is the award that goes to the best offensive line of the year. So they are very good on the offensive line. Georgia's best bet would be to start off fast. They like to start fast, get a little lead, and strangle the life out of you with that defense. And it's worked all year. They're 13-0. But they've also, against Missouri, proven that they have backbone when it counts the most to be down and come back. So I believe that if they get a lead and get a little bit of separation, maybe 7 to 10 points, that is going to bode very bad for Ohio State. They have advantages all up and down the defense. Jalen Carter being the main one, anchoring that defensive line. And yeah, Ohio State's advantages, obviously the best wide receiver core in the country. They have an explosive defensive line that creates a lot of pressure and have created a good amount of turnovers this year. Going up against that great offensive line in Georgia, they're going to have a tough time affecting them. But I think they can. As I mentioned, these are the two most talented teams. So it's not like anyone lacks the ability to stop the other. Ohio State on the outside, Georgia's secondary is very iffy when it comes to downfield throws and getting beat over the top. But it is hard to beat a team over the top that has a defensive line that can get to you so quick. But if Ohio State can hold up in the pass game, then they can definitely beat them over the top. Defensively, they take a lot of chances, but if they just tackle correctly and not allow plays to get out the door, they are very effective as a defense. So limit explosive plays for Ohio State is a big part of the game. Now I will finish off with my prediction. I predict that Ohio State will start off strong. Will punch Georgia in the mouth. Georgia will obviously not lay down and punch back, and it will be back and forth. But I think Ohio State can keep a 7-point, 3-point lead throughout the game and control the tempo a little bit. They are talking about going up tempo. So my prediction will be 38-31 Ohio State in a very close competitive game in Atlanta, in Georgia's backyard, and they will compete for the national championship. Thank you guys for listening. I hope I gave you some good information and some good insight, and I hope you guys enjoyed the player interviews, as you can hear from the source themselves. I'll see you guys Saturday. Go Bucks.